reality. They are disclosing that they are doing all this type of research on wormholes, black holes, change of time and space, officially.
Technically, there's a universe in which God can exist, right? So, like, as your book suggests, God is everything because of E equals MC squared. Literally, God is within and can be everything, but then...
Silver alert has been issued, and that's typically reserved for older missing people, sometimes who have health-related issues. Now, to be clear, this isn't just any missing senior citizen, no. This is Major General...
Reptilians.
The reptilians.
The reptilians.
The reptilians. The reptilians.
Reptiles. They're ugly-looking lizard, alligator type people.
Welcome to the sacrificed.
Retired Air Force General William McCastelland was reported missing after he walked out of his home in Albuquerque, New Mexico on February 27th, and he hasn't been seen since. His background is interesting, to say the least. He once led research at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, a base that has been closely linked to UFO theories. The mystery widened when we learned his former colleague, Monica Reza, also disappeared 9 months ago before him while she was hiking. So what do we know for certain? News Nation special correspondent, investigative journalist Ross Coulthart joins us now with more information from Sydney, Australia, where my grandmother was from. So that's a nice little connector there. What do we know about the general's disappearance at this point?
Well, good evening, Katie. Well, one thing we don't even know for sure is that the general left the house of his own volition. He wasn't seen leaving the house. And indeed, as we now know, he left his tracking watch, he left his mobile phone, and he took a revolver and a holster, which is very unusual for somebody who was supposedly heading off to go trail walking. Nobody's seen him. He hasn't been seen now for exactly 3 weeks. He's literally disappeared off the face of the earth. And this week we had a major press conference, as you know, with the local sheriff, Bernalillo County Sheriff, and they've made it very clear they have no leads on the general's disappearance, which is quite extraordinary when you consider that there are so many homes these days that have Ring cameras in their front doors. People have been asked if they could provide that video to help the local police see if we can track the general's movements. There's no sign of him having left the family home. All we know is that 1 hour he was there with a repairman who saw him in the home, and when his wife came back a little over an hour later, he had disappeared.
Wow, and she doesn't know anything about that either. You said McCastelland was said to be sympathetic to the idea of bringing public attention up to speed on UFOs. Do you think he was targeted for attempting to whistleblow, or do we not know enough about that at this point?
We just don't know enough. What we do...
Where do you think you were for the hours that you disappeared during the incident in 2007?
Well, I can tell you I had no clue until 2008 when MUFON came and did the Discovery Show. They actually sent a guy from a Harvard-trained psychiatrist that does hypnosis, and he hypnotized me first to say we're removing this block, and then we're gonna come back next week and find out what happened. So he did the first one, and immediately I could think about it and not pass out or have an excruciating headache. So what he did worked. And then my wife and kids started for the next, it was about 2 weeks before they came. They were startled because when I'd go to bed, which I always went pretty early, they'd be up till late. I'd be yelling out in my sleep and screaming and talking, and they were in there filming me with cell phones and iPads while I'm doing this, saying stuff, weird stuff, you know, like seeing beings and on Mars and all kinds of weird stuff. So eventually, I began to remember some of what happened, not all. But what I can tell you, the 4 hours while I was gone was a virtual tour. I was inside a bubble, something that was solid that I could stand on, but I couldn't see the walls, but I could touch them. But I could see everything in every direction. And there were always 3 figures behind me that were shadowy, and they were narrating what I was seeing. And I saw North America from way up high. I saw the whole United States, and then I was taken to Egypt, and I saw the pyramids.
And then I was taken to Egypt, and I saw the pyramids.
Then who built the pyramids? You gotta think about understanding. When you talk about building something, that means it was done by hand, right? That means somebody actually picked it up and built it. Nobody. It was energy. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, right now, you can move stuff based on vibration and frequency. Certain music, certain things move shit, and that's how they built it, right? They built them with their mind, telekinesis, nigga. But I don't think people understand a lot of shit that you can do because we can't do it. The Wi-Fi towers, everything, the microwave, right? The food, the toothpaste, right? Everything stop your natural power. But you know how nigga get his power when they get shot. When nigga get shot, nigga start sitting here off in the rain, nigga, my knee going. So you gotta get shot and go through some kind of trauma. Niggas fall on their head and then they become a genius. So you gotta get knocked back into the state where you're supposed to be. Right? I'm saying this is normal stuff that your body's supposed to do, and normal stuff that the body does that don't nobody do. They call it crazy. But the government don't think it's crazy. Nigga, they just went over there and just defeated the motherfucker with sound. So I don't think you understand what's going on, say cheese. Sound does everything. Sound built them pyramids, right? And everybody understand it, but the pyramids ain't what you think, because under the pyramids was all water, and water is conscious, right? And a lot of times people thought that the pyramids, and they was wrapping up them mummies for no reason. I'm gonna tell you why they wrapped them up. I'm gonna tell you here. Let me tell you this. Did you know this? And I say this all the time, and I even say don't say cheese. Did you know if I take an apple and I put an apple in a box, right? After about 1,000 years, the apple gonna, it's gonna rot, turn to dust. But after a million years, the scientists proved this. Once that apple was in that box, come to all the different possibilities it can be. It's gonna turn to ass, gases, the protons, everything gonna mix. It's gonna turn back to the apple. Everything is stuck on its prison, right? I'm keeping it real, right? And this type of shit people know, but different the Egyptians knew. So why do you think they wrapped up them bodies and kept them all intact? And why do you think now they split your body and take everything out your body? And when they bury you, you ain't got nothing in your body. Because they didn't do that, we'd be living in the Walking Dead. I'm just keeping it real.
And why do you think now they split your body and take everything out your body? And when they bury you, you ain't got nothing in your body. Because they didn't do that, we'd be living in the Walking Dead.
I have many witnesses who are very reliable, who told me that under the lake, there is one of the main CIA bases. There is a city under the lake that is more than 300,000 people. What can you tell me about those 17 dimensions? How far did you explore? That's when they talked about the portal. They described that they are time portal. They're going to subatomic levels, this Mandela effect. They put the news and they say, no, it was always there, and you start doubting about your past.
This is a Swiss scientist who worked with the WHO for years, including radionuclear emergencies. That work brought her close to Cern, and it gave her access to information from the inside. And she decided to speak out. The lake she's talking about is Lake Geneva, right next to Cern, on the border between Switzerland and France. Now, I know this sounds insane, but while I was researching this video, I found a clip of journalist Ross Coulthart, and I wasn't expecting what they found.
That's the spot. I'm getting really strong metal right there. Look at the picture on here. It's a three-dimensional image. It's showing a cavity. This is the exact spot that I picked as my primary target here. The exact spot, standing right over it. There, it'd have to be at least 8 foot.
Oh, right, okay. Right, so that's a big hole.
That's a fairly big screen of cavity.
This location is near Sedona, Arizona, close to a place called Bradshaw Ranch. Officially, the land is part of a research project run by Northern Arizona University to study plants and climate change. But people who have investigated the area for years say the activity there doesn't look like a normal research site. The land around the ranch is fenced off and heavily monitored. even though the surrounding area is public. Independent investigator Jeremiah Horstman has studied the region for more than a decade. He says people exploring the nearby canyons have reported armed personnel, frequent military helicopters, and strange lights in the sky. Horstman also suggests that the unusual activity in the canyon could be linked to a natural anomaly in the area, something he describes as a possible portal. And apparently, that's not the only example. In another video, Ross Coulthart says these portals exist across the United States and sends a direct message to the US government.
I've just been somewhere in the United States where I know there is another portal. And I know the United States knows about it. And I was there just the other day. And guess what? It's got a big fence around it, lots of security signs. It's supposedly US Forest Service. But you know what? It's not. And it's supposedly ancient ruins of tribal art. And you know what? It's not. What's happening is that the United States is using the US Forest Service and claims of the protection of archaeological relics to keep secret from the public a portal on US soil.
Universes and infinite parallel universes constantly being created is literally flow of reality and time as we know it. So, technically, there's a universe in which God can exist, right? So, like, as your book suggests, God is everything because of E equals MC squared. Literally, God is within and can be everything. But then again, if there's an infinite number of parallel universes, there is an infinite possibility that there's a parallel universe in which God does not exist or is more powerful. In other words, can God create an unliftable stone or object? If so, then God should not be able to lift it. But if God is truly powerful, then he should be able to lift it, and therefore he can't create an unliftable stone. So that's a paradox right there. Anyway, but the point about that is that that means that there is a power that is greater than God. And considering that there is an infinite number of vibrations and therefore an infinite number of realities within our dimensional space, or I guess alter-dimensional space, considering that they're either higher or lower, still in the same confined space, there is an infinite number of parallel realities with an infinite number of parallel dimensions that actually can create a powerful or a less powerful form of God E equals MC squared as we know it. Unfortunately, though, this is a paradox, quite how we encounter one with Aleph Null. In other words, imagine a line, right? And then from that line, you put a smaller line that is a fraction of that is a fraction closer to the original line, and then the same thing for that line, the same thing for that. Eventually you'll end up with this triangle shape, and that triangle shape is infinity technically in a confined space. Now, of course, infinity can't really be put in a confined space, but imagine it. Wait a second.
Okay, we're finding science demonstration material here.
Mom, do you have a marker? I have a pen already. It's written. Anyway, so imagine it like this, right? There's one line, and then a fraction closer, and a fraction smaller is the next line, and then a fraction closer and a fraction smaller is the next line, so on and so on and so on. Till eventually we get this sort of thing. It's a little bit like this. Now, that's infinity in a confined space because there's nothing here or here, because this is still there. But what happens when you add a line here? Now, that is actually still infinity because it's still in the same place, but it's not in a confined space, you may say. So then what if we do the same thing over here? Well, no matter how much you do it, it is technically still infinity. This quantity is still infinity, and you can
imagine that this folder is a dimensional plane. Now, assuming that it is no height and no depth, what would this mean? It would mean that it's a one-dimensional world. So if, hypothetically, an organism was living inside of it, it would only be able to move in a linear path forward and backwards in a straight line. Now, if we go to the second dimension, we have two dimensions. We have width and we have length. So hypothetically, if an organism lived inside of here, then it would be able to move up, down, left, right, and anywhere else in between. And a two-dimensional world is comprised of an infinite series of one-dimensional worlds stacked upon each other. Just as our three-dimensional world, which has depth and length and height, is comprised of an infinite series of two-dimensional worlds. So now that I have stacked many folders upon each other, we have three dimensions. We have depth, we have length, and we have width. Now what happens if you grow in perfect equilibrium so that it was growing at the same speed that it was shrinking as you move it farther away? Then you would not be able to tell without any lights or if there were details on the object that it's moving or growing at all.
Change something in the reality. They are disclosing that they are doing all this type of research on wormholes, black holes, change of time and space, officially.
Yes, she's talking about Cern. And something strange happened there in November 2009. Cern's director of research, Sergio Bertolucci, made a very interesting statement.
This director of Cern says that the Titanic machine may possibly create or discover previously unimagined scientific phenomenon or unknown unknowns. For instance, an extra dimension. Out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. There would be an open door, but that even with the power of the LHC at his disposal, he would only be able to hold it open a very tiny lapse of time, 10 to 26 seconds, but during that infinitesimal amount of time, we will be able to peer into this open door, either by getting something out of it or sending something into it. Of course, adds Bertolucci, after this tiny moment, the door would again shut, bringing us back to our normal, four-dimensional world.
This is Dr. Astrid Stuckelberger, a Swiss scientist who spent decades in research and worked with major institutions in Geneva, with access to a lot of internal information. In recent years, she decided to start speaking publicly about things that take a lot of courage to say out loud. In this video, you'll hear some things that may shake your worldview. I think she revealed more than she should have. Watch this.
She invited me to see everybody and put me at the table of two physicists from the Cern, one in Geneva, one in Portugal, because there are many other mini Cerns, it's not just Geneva. I said, so how many dimensions officially are living in the Cern? They both said 17. Very affirmatively.
Cern is a major physics research centre near Geneva, on the border between Switzerland and France, where scientists study the structure of reality at the smallest scale. Its main machine is the Large Hadron Collider, a 27-kilometre underground ring where particles are accelerated close to the speed of light and collided. This is how the Higgs boson was discovered in 2012, the particle linked to why matter has mass. What most people don't know, and this is where it gets interesting. When the Large Hadron Collider was about to start in 2008, there was a concern among some physicists about the scale of the experiment. The LHC operates at energy levels never reached before in a laboratory. Some theoretical models suggested that unusual phenomena could occur at those energies, including the formation of microscopic black holes or other exotic states of matter. This uncertainty led to legal challenges. In 2008, a lawsuit was filed in a US court asking for the LHC to be stopped. The case was dismissed because the court had no jurisdiction over Cern. The decision was appealed and dismissed again. Between 2008 and 2010, similar complaints were filed in European courts. None of them stopped the experiments. The legal decisions did not assess whether the experiments were safe. They only established that the courts could not intervene.
And then I was taken to Egypt, and I saw the pyramids and this Hathor's temple. I saw that, the Sphinx facing to the east. And then the lady comes back. Following year, after all this, this was in 2013 is when I really got that message from her, because that's when I was asked by the Pentagon, by 2 Air Force generals, to put it in writing what she told me. And I did. And this was on request from NASA, a friend at NASA. So he come and got it and hand-delivered it to these generals. And she told me that, she said that when the star of Regulus, she called it a red star. When you look at it, it looks blue. But she said when Regulus is red on the horizon, in front of the gaze of the Sphinx, before daylight. So in other words, when it's sitting right on top of the horizon, before the sun comes up, that moment would mark a change in humanity's knowledge. And she showed me other things. War, us bombing Iran, us bombing Syria. And in them days, none of that had happened. So I put all that on this piece of paper. And now I've had so many write me back, oh my God, you see they just bombed Iran, or Iran just bombed us, you know. You were right the whole time. And I did that in 2012. And so what they did was I gave them the date of 2026 because they took that celestial event and ran it through these machines that showed that exact alignment will happen in 2026.
Ran it through these machines that showed that exact alignment will happen in 2026.
A 68-year-old retired Air Force officer has been missing since February 27th in Albuquerque, New Mexico. A silver alert has been issued, and that's typically reserved for older missing people, sometimes who have health-related issues. Now, to be clear, this isn't just any missing senior citizen, no. This is Major General William Neal McCastelland, a former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, the organization responsible for advanced military technology and science. He also worked on space systems and special programs at the Pentagon, projects that were so classified that many inside the government never even got to see them. And here's where the story really gets strange. The base that he once led, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, is historically linked to Project Blue Book. This is the reported U.S. military's official investigation into UFO sightings. McCastelland once oversaw a $2 billion budget and some of America's biggest secrets. So when somebody like that disappears, you know people start asking questions, particularly since McCastelland had disappeared right after the president announced that he was directing the release of UFO and extraterrestrial materials. So you can see why there are those online who are fully into theory mode right now, right? The FBI, multiple other agencies are now involved in this search. I want to bring in somebody who has been following this story closer than anyone, believes that McCastelland's disappearance has very important implications.
It's 2026. No, it's not. It's 1446. you see, you confused. You brainwashed. It's 1446. And I can tell you how I know. Because they stole time. Listen, it's supposed to be 13 months, but then they made it 12. Right? You gotta understand this. So you gotta understand it's 130 years right there. And then you gotta understand all the history that they stole. They stole history. You gotta understand this. What they did was they conquered people, conquered shit, and said it didn't exist and changed the time.
What do you believe? Everything's not a conspiration.
No, it ain't a conspiracy. You gotta understand this.
Everything's not a conspiracy.
No, it's not a conspiracy. Niggas, stop playing with me. I'm talking about shit that's true. It's not a conspiracy.
No, I hear you.
For real, it was 13 months. If it wasn't 13 months, it wasn't no.
But I'm saying, like, what do you believe? I
don't believe shit. What? Ain't nothing to believe. I just know. Listen, belief is what man thinks is true. And it's a different thing when you talk about a true statement and a true statement. A true statement can be proven false. I'm gonna tell you a true statement. Milk is good, but it can be proven false. I'm gonna tell you a true statement. We stuck, because who the fuck got out? Right? It's different ways, and people don't understand the difference between the true statement and a true statement. What I give you is the truth, nigga. I'm a prophet of the Creator.
Why can't pyramids be built today?
They can.
Why? So
they can and they still are. They can and they still are.
So why are we?
There's one in Memphis.
You talking about our fucking glass?
No, it's one in Memphis. You think it's a game. You think they just toys. Why the fuck would they build them like that? Nigga, go to Vegas. Niggas one in Vegas. Why you think niggas gamble like that in Vegas? Nigga, the pyramid steady getting built. Nigga, they stole the technology, they steady building them, but you don't know you don't know.
Nah, I'm talking about the pyramids in Egypt.
They're the same pyramids.
The big block, the big ones that they can't build anymore, my nigga.
You don't get it. Yes, they can. Nigga. The first phone, how the first phone was big as fuck. It ain't the same phone no more. So you think the pyramids gonna look the same? You gotta use your brain, nigga. The pyramids is where they still at. You see them, Vegas, pyramid.
Nah,
you think I'm crazy?
People are looking
you
like
I'm crazy.
No, listen.
You want things that same? Everything changed.
I seen architects be mind blown on how they built that pyramid because they can't make it like that no
the
more.
rain haven't even fell the same way twice. People always change shit. Everything was changed. Right now, I don't think you understand. I'm gonna say this, right? People don't know that everything steady happening, but you don't know that it's happening. I can prove it, nigga.
The United States is using the US Forest Service and claims of the protection of archaeological relics to keep secret from the public a portal on US soil. I've been to the location. I'm told that there is technology that is being used to try to deaden the efficacy of the portal to stop things coming out or going through. I know it all sounds like something out of science fiction, but believe me, the United States knows a hell of a lot more about portals and interdimensional technologies than it cares to admit. I'm at this stage not willing to disclose the location of the portal or portals that I'm aware of, but believe me, it's an extremely sensitive, highly guarded, secret military facility. Don't try and access there if you're speculating about where it is. You'll get killed.
Dr. Astrid is saying similar things are happening at Cern.
There are beings from portals coming in and out.
Beings coming in and out of portals.
Yes, they have apparently in the bottom of the Cern this portal, this door where they are dealing with all the subatomic dimensions. They're actually summoning. They're summoning entities to come in a portal.
And this is just the beginning, because there are multiple facilities around the world. And between 2006 and 2010, something strange happened at several of them simultaneously. Shortly after, the Mandela effect appeared. Small changes in people's memory. In 2009, Fiona Broome was the first to notice something strange. Large groups of people were sharing the same memories, and those memories didn't match reality. Not isolated mistakes, but collective ones. She later called this the Mandela effect. I'm sure you already heard of it. The timing is interesting because it's exactly the same period when the Large Hadron Collider was being switched on and tested. The first beam circulated in 2008, and the first major collisions happened in 2009. Two completely different things happening at the same time. On one side, the largest physics experiment in history begins operating, and on the other, people start noticing that their shared memories don't line up with recorded reality. It may be nothing, it may be coincidence, but the overlap in timing is hard to ignore, and that's why this connection keeps coming up again and again. Not as proof of anything, but just as a pattern that feels a little too strange to be random. Do you remember the Monopoly Man? Did he have a monocle or not? Well, the official version says he never had one, but a large segment of the population remembers him with a monocle. I remember him clearly with a monocle. This is something I really wanted to share in this video because it's really messing me up. So if he didn't have a monocle, why does the Monopoly Man appear wearing one in the movie?
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and you must be the Monopoly guy. Hey, thanks for the free parking.
And not just that. Here's an article from a 2004 newspaper that mentions this common memory of the Monopoly Man wearing a monocle. One of many old references that describe the Monopoly Man with a monocle. And all of this is kindly confirmed by Max Lowen, known as the world's smartest kid, who strangely disappeared from the internet after his famous video.
What happened was we made this universe sort of out of balance, and our universe...
Because of the collider, the super collider?
Yeah, we altered the weight of a single electron, which I believe shifted us into a parallel universe.
He's suggesting that reality doesn't exist as one single fixed timeline. Instead, there are many parallel versions of reality that exist at the same time. These versions are almost identical, but not completely. There are small differences between them. Most of the time, they're so small that we don't notice them. Max's idea is that sometimes we move from one version of reality to another, and when that happens, things that we remember from the previous version don't always match what exists in the current one.
Now, that is actually still infinity, because it's still in the same place, but it's not in a confined space, you may say. So then what if we do the same thing over here? Well, no matter how much you do it, it is technically still infinity. This quantity is still infinity. And you could do this forever and then do an even bigger version of that, so on and so on. But if you're talking about this being Aleph Null and this also being Aleph Null, that can't really be possible. So if we're ordering in 1, as in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, blah, 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 and then what comes after that, we get an interesting term, which is omega, which is the lowercase form of omega, you might know, but we're talking about lowercase here. And then after omega, omega necessarily isn't bigger than Aleph Null, it's just an ordered form of infinity. So imagine it like this, omega plus 1, and then omega plus 2, plus 3, plus 4, plus 5, and so on and so on and so on and so on. Until eventually we get to the omega, 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 all the way up for Aleph Null to omega, to omega, to omega. You get the point. Anyway, what we're getting here is we're getting into a factoring infinity to the highest level. And after that, eventually you get other facts like Trin and a whole bunch of other higher infinities. And a lot of theorists, such as myself, have believed to figure out these highest infinities to a point where we start to get to our cardinals. And after we get to our cardinals, we start to get to uncountable cardinals. For more information, you can go to a Vsauce video, How to Count Past Infinity. It basically reviews this infinite information if you don't understand it. But the point...
I don't think there are many people who understand this other than you, Max Lachen.
You may have assumed that since we perceive things to be in 2 dimensions, that a 2-dimensional organism would see in 1 dimension. So, as we're watching this rubber band expand as it moves farther away from this little organism in the 2-dimensional world, it does not actually perceive anything is happening to it because it's growing at the same speed that it's moving farther away. But since we can actually see it from the 3-dimensional world and perceive things to be in 2 dimensions, we can see things for how they actually are. The reason that the 2-dimensional organism doesn't see things the way they really are is because the 2-dimensional organism sees things in 1 dimension, just how we, 3-dimensional creatures, see things in 2 dimensions. So in a way, we don't really see our world the way it truly is. A 4-dimensional creature, however, seeing our 3-dimensional world in 3 dimensions, would be able to see through things, would be able to see absolutely everything, just as we could see if there was several organisms spread along a 2D environment on your floor. You would be able to see inside houses, you would be able to see inside of people. So if a 2-dimensional world, a flat surface, is just made of an infinite amount of lines, then the 3D world is just made out of an infinite amount of planes. So the 4D world, logically, is made out of an infinite amount of 3D objects. Though they're not just put together like you would like building blocks. That's not how the 4D world is. That would just be 3D again. So in order to understand this, we need to understand the logical progression of mathematics in our world.
These machines that showed that exact alignment will happen in 2026 at Easter.
What will happen?
The star will, the alignment she told me about, that the star of Regulus would be on the horizon in front of the Sphinx. At that moment, there'd be a new knowledge. Well, I had no idea if this was even possible, you know, but these astronomers run it through the machines and it comes out that that star is going to come up on the horizon in Easter of 2026. And from that point forward, they started remote viewing the state, government did. And now you hear it all over TV. 2026, that's the big date. 2027, that year, something's going to happen. Armageddon, you hear it all over, you know, you hear it on TV. If you study, like, I've heard even, well, I won't say names, but.
Please do.
Well, you know Lou Elizondo, right? Lou's mentioned that date. A lot of people have.
Easter 2026.
Well, the year 2026. I gave him the specific time. And it was with Robert Grant that I told him about this alignment and all. And then he's like, oh my God. He's been looking for this ruby, this little ruby you have to find and place it between the paws of the Sphinx to make this event that he knows is going to happen in 2026. I said, Robert, it's not a ruby, it's the star of Regulus. He looks like, he's like, oh my God, It's the king stuff. So what's going to happen, I don't know. But I think it's possible that's the return of
Christ.
Yeah. Or the lady and the whole heavenly host living with us, Jesus.
So I don't think we should have to wait for 30 plus years to get access to the files that we know exist. The really interesting admission in that section that you played from the president to the reporter was that he admitted there must be classified files relating to aliens. Otherwise, why would President Obama be in trouble for talking about something that was classified? And that's the intriguing conundrum behind the president's admission. He's effectively admitted that, yes, there are classified files pertaining to a non-human intelligence, aliens as they're called, and it's time for those files to be declassified.
I want to start this video off by giving you a chance to prepare for what I'm about to say. So go on and take a deep breath and get ready. All right, long enough. Everybody that you see is not human. Everybody that you see out here is not actually alive, not actually living. Now today I was just doing a Bible study as usual, and I ran across some things that I just couldn't believe. You got to see this. All right, like I'm saying, and JT, you know, we done talked about this several times over the last 4 or 5 years. Man, we done talked about this subject so many times. Everybody you see is not human, not alive, not living. There are some people who are actually dead, not real. So check this out. So it won't just be me doing a lot of talking. I'm going to give you scripture after scripture after scripture, stuff that we done read but we overlooked. All right, let's start in John 11:25. Jesus made a statement. He said, "He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live." He's talking about actual people who are dead, but through believing in him, you shall live. All right, that's real light. Overlooked, yes, but all right, yeah, you get, okay, let's move on to something else. If you look at Romans 4:17, it says God quickens the dead and calls those things that be not as though they were. We hear that all the time, but look at it, read it slow. God quickens the dead. Once we come in contact with God, he quickens us. We are quickened by the Spirit of God. So what were we before we were quickened? We were dead. Just like some people out here are dead. I know I'm probably losing you, but please hold on. Keep listening. If you look at the book of Jude, chapter 1, these type of people are considered clouds without water. Let me see, I got it right here. Clouds, they are without water, carried about of winds. They are considered trees whose fruit withereth. Without fruit, and it says twice dead. Twice dead. Everybody ain't alive.
It's been going on longer than recorded history. Officially sanctioned Natural History 101, that is. We've always been hopelessly outnumbered by humanity. Had to find ways to blend in. First it was easy. Sometimes we even had it good. China, of course, was always a breeze, obviously. But Europe was another story. We let our guard down for a few centuries and we paid the price. So we went back to the drawing board, perfected our disguises, parchment, paper, the finest Corinthian leather. Then, it was plastics. Today we've got solid holograms 50 years beyond what the apes can dream of. Project the photons and in a millisecond, become solid disguise. That's smooth.
It's the quad processors.
It's not like he took a real close look. Catching perps is not his first order of business. Get the human cops away from the crime scene. That's the priority. Dinos gave up raw meat about 10 million years ago, after we discovered fire. This was one giant step backwards for dino kind. Like I want any of that mess?
Reptilians.
The reptilians.
The reptilian.
The reptilians. The reptilian.
Reptiles. They're ugly looking lizard, alligator type people.
This will be like the Draco's last play because they have other slave colonies that's out there on Mars and other places throughout the galaxy where they are building a human society, a slave society, a food factory for not only them, but they are creating another. Like I said, the Dracos are like drug dealers and humans are the drug.
So how prevalent do you think the human slavery issue in the universe?
It's a big issue, man. I mean, right now, what our galactic positive brothers want to see happen is that humans have to catch up to what is truth, okay, and what is not truth. There's a lot of disinformation out there, and there's a lot of people with big, huge channels that are saying that there are no bad ETs, which is a lie. If you hear anybody stating this, and I'm not going to call out names on your show, but I will call out names on mine because I'm at the point where I do not want to see humanity led down a road where they're being set up to meet these bad ETs and then worship these bad ETs and then get sucked into this whole nonsense of being more of a slave.
We stuck in you, you'll be dormant. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this, gang. If you understood that you can move blocks with your mind, why the fuck was you moving with your hand?
Why they not moving anything else with their mind?
They are. You just not seeing. What the fuck is wrong with you, say cheese? You just don't fucking see it. It don't mean it ain't happening. It's fucking happening.
Okay.
I fucking do it. I can do it. I can move the fucking wind, nigga. I'm keeping it real. Like, I'm just saying that a lot of shit happen, but if you're not exposed to it, you don't know that it's happening. In the trenches, gang, we don't know that alone is possible because we don't got the right credit score. We don't know a lot of shit is possible depending on where you at. And that's how it goes. Because you're not there. You're not with Elon Musk when they make it. You ain't with them. And they ain't gonna tell you they make them. Niggas hold underground cities that you don't even fucking know about.
Yeah.
What the fuck? You think no pyramids down there?
You right.
Come on, gang, stop playing with me. But they're not gonna tell you this. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this, right? A lot of shit is against policy of United States. Listen, you don't understand that what would happen if everybody knew everything they can do?
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think you understand.
Nah. Listen, you don't understand that what would happen if everybody knew everything they can do? Yeah. Right? But I don't think you understand. No.
Now they want to do a collidron loop.
Yep.
It is 27 kilometers, and now they want to do 91 kilometers. They say it's not enough. We have to just get the collision between the subatomic particles. Okay, we can imagine that it's correct, that it's possible, but how can we verify anything? It's very puzzling.
So, the question naturally becomes, why there? Why was Cern built near Geneva? Officially, the answer is simple. Switzerland is politically neutral, stable, centrally located in Europe, and able to host an international scientific organization without geopolitical tension. But when you step back and look at the physical location, not just the political one, the choice becomes more interesting. Cern sits in a very specific part of Europe, close to the Alps and near the Mont Blanc Massif, the highest mountain in Western Europe. This is one of the most geologically complex and active regions on the continent. Mont Blanc is not just a mountain, it's a massive geological structure sitting on top of deep fault systems, tectonic pressure zones, and complex rock formations. Researchers in geophysics and geobiology have pointed out for years that large mountain ranges are associated with unusual natural phenomena, natural electric currents in the ground, variations in the Earth's electromagnetic field, and strong mechanical stress in certain minerals like quartz, which can produce electric effects under pressure.
One of the caveats that I do have some personal information that I did get personally involved in was some information that had to do with the Stargates and Looking Glass, and more specifically the 2012 problem with those projects. The, well, I guess, popular opinion of what's out there right now is that the project was shut down because there was a problem when we approached 2012.
This interview was recorded in 2012 for Project Camelot, hosted by Kerry Cassidy. The guest was Bill Wood, a former US Navy member who claimed he had been exposed to classified information far beyond what the public normally sees. In 2012, many people were focused on the idea that the Mayan calendar predicted a global event. Bill said the real concern inside certain classified circles had nothing to do with the prophecy or a calendar.
The timelines converge on that point in time. And when you know enough about the Stargate projects and the Looking Glass project to know how string theory works and how the possibility of possibilities works and how making one choice over here doesn't necessarily mean the other choice couldn't exist at the same time. But once you get your brain wrapped around this subject, you find out that at the end of 2012, in an easy way to put it, the choices that we make become less and less consequential to the future. And eventually we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make.
Eventually, we're pushed into this bottleneck of time, no matter which choice we make.
What happened was people, very smart people, began to figure out that something big was coming up. Something that made it so all the possibilities of all the future scenarios of any choice, any possibility that was fed in and observed through the Looking Glass inherently ended up in the same future. And no decision and no possibility changed past a certain point. That's the big secret.
Okay, so is that certainly 2012 in your understanding?
It well coincides with December 21st, 2012.
It can change you inside, but there ain't going to be no change of humanity without having some spiritual thing come in and change us from the inside out there. And that's what's coming. And there's nothing nobody can do about it. They can squeal and squirm and try to make it look negative and ugly all they want, but it's not going to stop what's coming, according to her. And in the book of Revelation, in the very last chapter, it says, when the armies surround Israel on all four sides, that he's coming back to fight the battle and rid the world of evil. And then there'll be a time of peace, 1,000 years. And that's what the lady taught me. Same thing. I said a lot.
Thank you for sharing that.
A whole lot. 18 years, I've never told this. Or the 17 and a half years.
How does it feel to get it out?
Right. Right. I'll get a lot of blowback from this, I promise you. I just hope the world that has been told it's the devil can wake the heck up and see that a little bit of heaven's coming here to help us.
Imagine that this connects piece represents the first dimension. It's simply a straight line, which is basically what the first dimension looks like. And if you add 3 more of these straight lines and connect them so that adjacent sides are perpendicular and opposite sides are parallel, then you have the basic shape of the second dimension. You have a square. Now if you keep going from here and you add it so that there's a total of 4 squares, and all adjacent sides are perpendicular, and all opposite sides are parallel, then you end up with, obviously, a cube. So, if you tried to keep going from here, and you would have a 4-dimensional basic shape, you would have what's called a tesseract. Now, I cannot show you a tesseract, but you need to understand that it's basically 4 cubes that are within each other, that have all adjacent sides perpendicular and all opposite sides parallel. Yet there are 4 lines connecting to each vertex. So a tesseract would look somewhat like this picture. Now that's not exactly what it looks like, because this is a 2-dimensional depiction, and obviously not all of the lines are straight. So I cannot show you what a tesseract actually looks like, because we cannot perceive things in the 3rd dimension. You cannot even imagine what a tesseract looks like. You cannot in your mind picture the 4th dimension or a 4th dimensional shape.
Missing YouTuber and his viral video. It's all part of a mystery centered around Sedona, Arizona.
Of course, the popular tourist destination that we all love and know, and it's known for its scenic beauty and shopping. But don't forget its mysterious side. Crystals and energy vortexes are a big reason why some people visit Sedona.
Used for science experiments? I would say so.
This is a YouTube video posted by someone calling himself Funky Fathead.
You can see a much more stable fracture.
He says he's using a computerized tone generator to open a vortex, a portal in time and space.
I haven't a clue where he is. He sounds American, so I'm hazarding a guess somewhere in the States.
The video caught the attention of this man who posts videos from his home in England. He calls himself Hidden Underbelly.
He went on to experiment with portals and sound frequencies.
Hidden Underbelly spoke to us via Facebook messaging after this video racked up more than 1 million views.
That in itself is pretty insane.
After he was unable to reach Funky Fathead, the video made news in the Daily Star, headlined, "Bloke Missing After Opening Portal of Time and Space in His Bedroom."
If he has opened a portal, God knows where he is. And more to the fact, God knows if he can get back.
You see, Funky Fathead hasn't been seen or heard from in 4 months. He did leave one clue, however.
If you don't know where that is, I do. Is in Sedona.
Sedona is known for having dimensional travel there. I mean, that's one of the great tourist sites about it, is that people try to go find these portals.
Sedona is known for its mysterious vortex portals and magical healing places.
Okay, then we have to go to Matthew 8:22. Jesus told a man that wanted to go bury his father before following Christ. He said, "Let the dead bury their dead." Why is Christ calling these people that are burying his dead father? Why is he calling these people dead? Everybody out here is not alive. Everybody is not real. If we look at John chapter 3, verse 5, Jesus told Nicodemus, they were talking about getting into the kingdom of heaven and being born again. Jesus said that a man has to be born of water and born of the Spirit, or he will not see the kingdom of heaven. Born of water and born of the Spirit. Now we know that when we are born, babies, when they're born, they are born from water. That is born of water. So one qualification of getting into the kingdom of heaven is to be born of water. Why is Christ saying that is a qualification if everybody out here is born of water? I said, why is Christ telling Nicodemus that in order to see the kingdom of heaven, you have to be born of water? If everybody is already born of water, that wouldn't even be a qualification. Everybody out here is not real.
Everybody out here is not real.